Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Jae Encarnacion, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're thrilled to have Michael Seeley, the founder and CEO of Liminal Group Ventures. Michael brings over 17 years of expertise in design, innovation, and branding, having worked with global brands like IKEA, Walmart, and Whirlpool, and holding nearly 100 patents. Based in West Michigan, Liminal Group Ventures and is founded to bridge the gap between ideas and investable businesses, is empowering startups, students, and entrepreneurs through development services and educational programming. We'll be exploring his founding story, how his venture studio supports the next generation of innovators, and his vision for scaling this impact-driven organization. With that being said, let's dive right in. Michael, welcome to Founders Future.
Thank you for having me. Fantastic intro. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you. I mean, amazing background. So very easy to do an intro on you, Michael, and do appreciate having you on the show. So for our listeners, let's start at the top. Let's go back to the beginning with you here, Michael. What was the specific problem in the startup or innovation landscape that really inspired you to start Liminal Group Ventures?
Yeah, and let me give a little bit of background. You went through where I came from, being a product and brand developer, spending about 15 of those years in the corporate environment, working with all these larger organizations and methods and process within those organizations, spending the last 6 or so years out what I like to call out in the wild in startup world and working with these different size organizations, everywhere from very mature startups, stage 2, where they're scaling, all the way down to individual entrepreneurs and early stage startups, looking for almost that investment readiness. And what we really saw, and I guess I should add to that, I'm an industrial designer by trade. And so that has been a fantastic tool in this area, in the ability to understand people. And so what I say that is I want everyone to think of the 3 overlapping circles that overlap in the center, that triple Venn.
Yeah.
Most successful businesses, business leaders understand that success comes at the intersection of feasibility, viability, and desirability. And so as industrial designers, we're classically trained, but I also like to say biologically wired to understand that third piece of the pie there, which is desirability. And as I'm out in the wild and I'm seeing so many organizations that they start with one of 2 things. They normally start with feasibility in the sense of trying to take a technology and commercialize it. The other is even worse, they start with viability. They just want to make more money. And then those 2 groups have to end up trying to back into desirability. And that becomes very, very hard for those organizations. Understanding what people really want and what really people need in desirability. And so that's where we really approach and where I have always been living, as you start with desirability, and feasibility, viability just comes so much more naturally. And so that's the problem we've seen. That's the problem and how we lead. We're a human-centric, design-led or desirability-led venture studio. And we're helping organizations understand that first and most critical foundation, which is what people want, what people need.
I love it. So with that there, I definitely want to get into the nuts and bolts, right? Especially for our listeners who aren't very familiar with this space and can potentially come and work with you. Walk us through really the core offer here, Michael. I know that you have the development services, pitch coaching, educational programs. Walk us through exactly what that core offer is and who is your ideal customer? Who works with you and what do you love there?
Yeah, we have a lot, as you say. We are very integrated in very different areas of the ecosystem, you can call it. And core vision is really being set up as a true venture studio where we're actually incubating organizations from inception into really investment readiness, market readiness, scale ready. And however, at this stage, we are really embedding that educational programming environment. And so we've very quickly saw a gap that there's a lot of what we call rinse and repeat programming in the earliest stages of entrepreneur development and early stage startup development. And so what we're doing is we're really trying to revamp that. We've scaled up and we've surrounded ourselves with the best experts in the earliest stage for product market fit, design development, all of those things revolving around that foundational essence that these groups need for investment readiness. So those offers, and typically our targets, we're partnering with nonprofit organizations, for-profit organizations. We're really an ESO network out there, an entrepreneur service organization, providing not just individual services, but mainly that programming. And through that programming, we're able to do what we call filter and amplify. And that's where we're able to really embed and onboard some of the best, most high potential, high yield organizations for further growth.
Gotcha. Incredible. So what would you point to then, Michael, with that very in-depth and niche there, where you're focused? Is there a specific offer that is the bread and butter for you, 70 or 80% of what you focus on? Then the others, is there a supplement? Is that how it operates for you, or is it different?
No, it is. It's a little different, really. And I think this will speak to a lot of founders out there. So we're relatively new. We're building the ship as we go. And what we're doing here is you can't just come to the party and say you do the best venture building around. You have to show it, you have to build that, you have to prove it. And so we have a very strategic positioning to start with that authority in building early stage ventures. And so it may not be through the direct incubation in our organization at first. It's through those programming offers to nonprofit organizations, the surrounding communities, and the individual service offerings and coaching we provide to early stage entrepreneurs and startups. Through that, you can imagine it gets into the vision and the growth of how we're able to then scale and gain further and further funding and backing to support the studio at that point.
So with that there, being that you're working with so many smaller startups and in that field, what is working best for you right now on the acquisition side? What channels are most effective for you, whether that is referrals, whether that is ads that you're running, social media? Talk us through that a bit.
Yeah, right now it is pure community building. And I mean that not necessarily, that's what most of us in Liminal Group are all about. We're about building the community. And that is something that we also notice is that a lot of startup communities, startup areas are very fragmented. They're pulled apart, they're confusing, they're intimidating. And so we're really trying to come in and bring groups together. And that's why, as you mentioned in the intro, we're very embedded in the local university. We're trying to bring the students involved with the community as much as the startups and entrepreneurs, as much as we are with the larger corporate entities that we have in the area. West Michigan is so dense and flourishing with so much resources and potential that we're really trying to corral and bring that all together in one place.
So with that, Michael, I definitely would love for you to touch a bit on the idea, because I know that you mentioned a couple times the scale, right? Scaling this, getting it to a point where you can really hang your hat on that and be proud of where you've been able to take it. How are you approaching the idea of scale as far as predictability goes with these leads? Because obviously, community building and referral side, it's tough to predict what's going to be coming in month over month. How do you approach that side of things?
Yeah, no, great question. Strategically making sure that the pipeline is being fed. And what I mean by that is, again, strategically positioning in many different verticals. We have very many different offerings that we have with these organizations that allow us to see extreme diversity in, we'll call it venture types, everywhere from CPG to consumer products. We are mainly focused in hardware, hard tech, but we do everything from across verticals and furniture, consumer electronics, along that method. And so when we integrate across these, as long as that pipeline is fed, we have a very healthy, let's just call it like deal flow that comes through our group and organization that we are able to then champion and help integrate back into the community. And so when we can start to show venture capitalists, angel, the investment community really, and the larger organizations, the potential talent and value coming out of the organization, that's again where we start to really take off and show value and worth and become very rooted in the local community as a needed entity.
I love that. So what would you, as far as the sales process goes right now, is it just you, Michael, running the show here, or do you have a team, sales team, marketing team? What does that look like as far as the sales process goes?
Yeah, no, for one, it's not just me, but we are small and we're intentionally very agile and very lean when it comes to onboarding. Like I said, we've got a team of experts. There's a group of 6 of us currently that span everything from branding, marketing, specialist, research, consumer product development, circularity, branding, brand development, all sorts of areas that we work together. And we are all between 15 and 30-year veterans in all of our fields. And so we all chip in and help where possible to get the word out. And this isn't everybody's interest, like I said, in the community. And we don't have just a dedicated force. Part of that community building is making sure that we show up and we're everywhere to make sure that we can help as many people and organizations as we possibly can. So we're not traditionally pumping media and advertisements and things, just throwing out like a typical offering. We're literally getting to know people intentionally to create tailored and bespoke solutions and programming and offerings for the companies and or the clients that they serve themselves.
Love it. I love it. So with that and your approach right now, Michael, and how you are going out and doing a lot of in-person events and really building the community. Obviously, there's a lot of time involved, a lot of hats you have to wear there. What would you point to as the biggest bottleneck right now with everything, all the moving pieces that you
Yeah.
have in the business, whether that be the consistent lead generation or converting clients for yourself? What would you point to as a bottleneck right now?
Yeah, it's just that. It's just what we went through. Is I can't clone myself. We can't clone each other. Like there's only so many people, and we can't just have anybody out there championing this word. We're really trying to be more personal about it. But that is the bottleneck. Awareness, letting people know that we're here and letting them know that the experts are here to help amplify what we're already trying to do as a community. Everybody's trying to really do the same thing. We're trying to gather and get everybody to align in one singular vision and trajectory. And that's the hardest thing for us, is being everywhere all the time. And like I said, it's a very fractured, no matter where you go, all over the world, really, these startup communities are sometimes very spread apart, and they're doing organizational things here and conversations here and events here. We need to find a better way to communicate, network, and connect.
That's so with that, obviously have a very good idea of what you're bringing to the table here, where you're trying to take Liminal Group. And I would love to hear more of your vision for the next 6 to 12 months, Michael. Paint us that picture. What are you really laser focused on to achieve these goals? It's clear as day how passionate you are about what you're doing here. What does that look like for the rest of the year going into 2026?
Yeah, it's a good transitional question, right? So again, building that awareness and footprint in the area, I guess you could call it, so that we can, in essence, continue to fundraise and build the entity to offer faster, less expensive offerings and community involvement than we are today. We're aiming at a combination residency of students and organizations. And right now we have a mixed cohort of 3 and 3. So we have 3 student ventures we're incubating, and we have 3 actual independent entrepreneur startups that we're incubating at the same time. That is a vision, is to have that mix. It's very unique. That again helps us build the students, it helps build local talent, it helps these other areas have access to different types of talent and resources. We're fundraising right now. So in 6 to 9 months, as you ask, like we're hopefully being able to fund and get operations fully satisfied to where we have full-time commitment. A lot of us are not only running and dealing with Liminal, they're doing other things, right? So some of these consultancy experts are also consulting and doing their own thing. We can get them embedded in as a full-time focus. Scale is only up from there. And so that's really our goal. Again, more people, prove our capabilities and our value, and generate that funding or that support to scale and help as many as we possibly can.
Absolutely amazing. So with that there, how do you see the entire industry as a whole? So the venture studio, the innovation industry, how do you see that evolution in the coming years, especially with your focus on sustainability and human-centered design? What are you doing to really put Liminal Group at the forefront of that evolution that you're picturing, Michael?
Yeah. The good thing for us is, again, I mentioned earlier, a lot of our background is hard tech and hardware focused. So the physical, tangible things, we have haptics around and more of a 360 experience around. We know that's coming back, which is fantastic. Many of you have seen OpenAI and IO combining forces and doing the thing. Like, we know that there's going to be come back to more physical goods. That's a good thing for us. Again, putting us at the forefront of our expertise and surrounding us with those experts. How we do that is showing up and delivering. I don't know how to say that any differently than we already have. We have to show the proof, and we have to do it first. I think we're well on our way. Word of mouth is happening. We're doing it. We're here now. Again, we've been able to help many organizations. We've only really been publicly broadcast since January of this year. Being able to have helped over 30 organizations in that amount of time and generate a certain amount of funding and recognition in that short amount of time is a good record so far. So we're very excited. We're doing it. We know we're doing the right thing. We know that we can grow and grow faster. We just need more people to know about it. That's another reason I'm glad we're talking and spreading the word.
I love it. I love that. With that, I want to take us into the lightning round to close us out for our listeners here, Michael. It's incredible having you on, especially talking in this niche and really bringing that awareness. As you mentioned, incredible to have you on the show. I'm so glad we were able to get the episode going. So on the closing lightning round side of things, I would love to hear from you on a tool or a resource that you're using, whether it's a design principle or an innovation strategy, or as you just mentioned, some AI tool that you're utilizing. What's really been a game changer for Liminal Group this far?
We've got all of those things embedded. I would say tools. There is some AI involved. That's a whole rabbit hole we could get into, and how we leverage that to help streamline and simplify certain methodologies. But really, what we've started with is a design thinking methodology. And that's a term that we all talk about and has been around, but it's the idea of starting with human-centric focus. That's huge. And we do actually, I'm also an educator at Western Michigan University and Notre Dame, and organizations that support this idea of starting human-centric and keeping people at the forefront of innovation. And I'd say those methods, so human-centric, HCD, human-centric design thinking are at our forefront. We do have proprietary tools and methods that we use. We have these fit checks that we call them that get into the product market fit check, and that there's a whole slew of things that we do in there to help these organizations. Again, another thing in the area, I would say the ecosystem as a whole is lacking is quantifiable or measurable results. We're tired of this participation only metrics that ESOs use right now. We're trying to look after performance and help track that and show that we can really grow and help these groups perform and really make an impact, right? It's not about the amount of people we push through the door, it's the quality and where they go after that. And so we have a lot of check points and certifications and things that we help tag these folks with so that they have that ability to go to other organizations, gain and generate more funding as a sign of proof that they've established a certain level of readiness.
And then just to wrap us up here, Michael, a piece of advice from you would be incredible. What can you offer to our listeners tuning in right now? Some that may end up coming and working with you, and others that are just in their own ventures and looking to get some advice from someone as passionate and motivated as you are. What can you offer them before we wrap up the show today?
Boy, it's such a good one. There's so many. You've got to start human-centric. Don't think you know the market too well. Most founders, entrepreneurs that I meet, they feel like they know the market. They feel like they know exactly what people expect because they're using their own personal lens. When in reality, you have to understand what people want and need. And at that point, that tagline that we like to use, like feasibility, means nothing if nobody wants what you're making.
Yeah.
And so again, we redirect and try to get people a foundation of where to start first. And then these other elements of venture building really file in a lot easier if you start with what people really want.
Incredible. With that right there, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Michael, just want to thank you again coming on the show, sharing that incredible journey this far and your insights. And as I just mentioned, clear as day with your drive, your passion, your intelligence, everything you've been able to accomplish this far, you're going to do some amazing things with Liminal Group. So truly an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, which I know so many of you have, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also check out Liminal Group Ventures at liminalgroupventures.com to learn more about their services, and follow Michael on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Think Seeley. For more resources and insights, visit closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class marketing systems. Until then, keep climbing, and we'll see you on the next one.